the economy, or at least helping us to turn around the economy. In terms of the interventions that we're putting through, there are four critical areas that we're focusing on in terms of how we flog those airports and improving the state of the airport. So one is to increase economic activity around the airports. Our commercial and business development team, as well as myself, obviously with the guidance of the Honorable Minister, have worked very closely with some of the state government in terms of what they can do. One is largely around cargo. I think cargo is a sweet spot for us in market. The states like Kano, Jos, Ogun State, even though Ogun is not our airport, they're looking to drive cargo effectively as well. But it's not just about building the infrastructure or investing more in the infrastructure on ground. It's really making sure that there's a feeder system that starts all the way from the bottom of the value chain to drive cargo. There are various segments of cargo. I think agro and farmer are two critical areas that we have been looking at. Agro specifically around making sure that there's food security, so distribution of food items in market, specifically within Nigeria, and of course, certain items that can be exported. What that means is that in terms of the bottom of the chain, the value systems, making sure that the states are working very closely with DFIs in terms of aggregating the products or the produce that need to go out, making sure that you're sort of aggregating a database that also focuses on packaging, logistics, also testing labs around some of those airports so that we can at least start to drive a lot more cargo activity. So as I mentioned, that is one area. So economic activity, tourism. I know there's been a lot of noise about Dirty December in Lagos. So tourism is one, of course, business activity, and largely around driving GDP. Look, I think if we want to drive economic activity at this airport is really to make sure that we're able to drive the GDP growth, which are the key inhabitants. So that's one. The second is really around improving the infrastructure linkage to the airport facilities. So making sure that a collaboration between ourselves and the state governments, and of course at the federal level as well, making sure that the road network that leads into the airport, making sure that the transit facilities that are available. I'll give some examples. FCT, for example, has a rail line that terminates at the airport. It makes it easier for people to come there, whether they're traveling passengers or to conduct economic activity at the airport. We recently had a meeting with Lagos State government this week. They do have a road that is coming in from Ali Mosho, which will also open up the area. So the linkage is very important in terms of making sure that we can actually drive this activity.
All right.
The third is really around transit hubs. So let me just wrap up very quickly. Is establishing certain locations and transit hubs. Lagos and Abuja, of course, are the main areas that we're looking at. And I mentioned earlier, which is also to prioritize the cargo exports. Thank you very much.
All right. And no